Chapter 851. Avicania, the gigantic hand covered the vast galaxy, and also enveloped the numerous cracks in Western Ring Nebula's foreign land. At that moment, as the palm swiftly furled into a fist, understanding appeared in Su Ming's eyes as he stood at the edge of a crack. He looked at the 5 fingers coming towards him and looked at how the galaxy was swiftly replaced by the palm that was swiftly furling itself into a fist. Booming sound surrounded the entire area, and wherever the fingers passed, the galaxy would look as if it was about to shatter. The final word of the declaration to control fate, lives, and death was still echoing in the air, and a power that was strong enough to destroy all lives seeped out continuously from the palm. The galaxy trembled, and the cosmos scattered. This was a mighty power that was inconceivable, and so it enthralled Su Ming. He seemed to have forgotten that he was in danger and that if the palm seized him, he would be destroyed from then on, even if he possessed the purple Ikang clone. He could not tell whether time was flowing quickly or slowly. It was as if all laws regarding time could no longer be found. This lasted for only one breath, but also seemed like an endless passage of time. The palm furling itself into a fist had replaced space itself, and by then had almost completely formed a fist. Booming sounds echoed in the galaxy. From the distance, this was an incredibly shocking sight. The vast palm seized the entire Western Ring Nebula's foreign land. In fact, if anyone looked over, they would not be able to see Western Ring Nebula's foreign land. There was only a gigantic palm that was swiftly furling itself into a fist. Su Ming looked at the incoming fingers from above, and he saw ravines as well as plains that were growing bigger continuously as they swiftly charged towards him. To control fate, lives, and death. As Su Ming mumbled, the palm completely furled into a fist, and during that instant, he moved back and stepped into the crack leading to Western Ring Nebula's foreign land. At the instant he stepped inside, a muffled bang that sounded as if the galaxy had shattered spread swiftly in all directions. That was the noise once the palm completely formed itself into a fist. That was an impact caused by the power that could crush everything. A ring-shaped ripple appeared out of nowhere and tumbled backwards into all areas. Wherever it went, booming sounds would surge into the sky. That ripple was like a surging wave. As it continued spreading out, the boundless galaxy was filled with distorted ripples, as if the universe was about to be destroyed, as if all lives were about to die. Yet during that instant, a furious roar came from inside the fist. That roar contained a domineering presence, an air that looked down on all manner of life, along with a supreme, mighty presence as well as an overbearing attitude, as if the owner of that roar placed itself above all. The roar swiftly spread out. Get lost. At the instant that roar traveled outwards, the gigantic fist suddenly trembled. As it did, power erupted from inside the palm. The strength of that power seemed to want to push open the fingers, as if it was a soul that the palm could not hope to destroy. But gone. As the enraged roar still lingered in the air, a second roar immediately came from the fist. The voice was sharp, but even though it was piercing to the ears, it still contained an endless domineering and mighty air, as if all wills had to submit to this voice, or else they would be wiped out for showing any sign of disrespect. As that voice spoke up, the huge fist started trembling again, showing vague signs that it could not remain clenched. Damn you, you ant! How dare you come to this place and offend us, Ikang? Go away! The third furious roar immediately came out and shook the entire galaxy. So what if you're a master of fate, lives, and death? How dare a cultivator like you stretch out a hand before us? Leave this place! A fourth roar rang out in space. The palm trembled even more furiously. The 5 fingers were forced to raise themselves as they shivered. The furious howls grew in number as the 5th, 6th, and up to the 7th voices shouted at the same time. All of you lives are mere ants. The universe is all but emptiness to us. In the endless passages of time, you're not the first person who has dared to offend us, but you are the first fool who dreamed of destroying us. How dare a mere master of fate, lives, and death who doesn't even have his own true world come to this place? You're just asking for death. Go back to the place you sleep. This is not a place where ants like you can destroy. Booming sounds rang violently. When the 7th roar echoed in the air, the 5 fingers of the gigantic hand were forced to unfurl as booming sounds traveled out from within the fist. As it trembled, signs of destruction appeared, as if the palm could not fight against the 7 roars that symbolized the 7 wills. "Hehe, boy, what is your name? You are quite the brave one. Do you dare tell me your name? I will remember the mark of your life, and when I move out, the first one I will devour will be you." The 8th voice rose with a loud bang. The degree of destruction on the palm became even more intense, and the 5 fingers were completely stretched out. "All those who offend us Ikang must die." The 9th voice brought with it endless madness and killing intent. As it traveled out with loud banging sounds, the palm was torn to shreds. 3 of the 5 fingers were separated from the palm, and as they fell away, they turned into ashes. "Master of fate, lives, and death, you can come out from the region where true sacred Yin world is stationed for my life, but this place is my galaxy. How dare you, still not shatter?" The final voice belonged to Su Ming. At the instant his voice traveled outwards, the final 2 fingers from the already shattering palm crumbled to pieces, revealing Western Ring Nebula's foreign land, which had been encased earlier. At the same time, 10 wills erupted forth from the endless cracks leading to the foreign land, turning into an indescribably mighty impact that charged straight into the broken palm. This was not Su Ming's will alone, but all 10 of the Ikang wills within Western Ring Nebula's foreign land having their full power burst forth once they detected danger. In this place, they were invincible existences. In this place, no form of life could destroy all of them completely in one go. In this place, they were the symbols of the strongest in the universe. Booms rang out, shaking the entire universe. The palm continued shattering. There was not a single existence that could provoke Ikang. This was Ikang's pride and dignity. They could devour each other, but if any outside force intended to destroy them, it would be faced with their frenzied retaliation. This was the reason why Su Ming dared to try and understand his opponent's method of controlling fate, lives, and death despite being in danger. As long as he returned to this place and his enemies still dreamed of killing him, then what would fall onto their head would be the counterattack of all 10 Ikang souls. In the face of such retribution, even a master of fate, lives, and death was nothing. Loud booms surged into the air. During that instant, a large portion of the palm shattered, revealing the complete Western Ring Nebula's foreign land, and also revealing a gigantic tree shining with 10-colored light while towering over the universe. 10 colors surrounded the tree and exuded a presence that could destroy all lives. As furious roars echoed in space, the 10 wills used the simplest method to crash into the crumbling palm, without even using any form of divine ability. Boom! 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 The palm that had stretched out of the region where the forces of power from true sacred Yin world were stationed shattered inch by inch. The speed of its destruction was so quick that in the blink of an eye, the portion of the palm around Western Ring Nebula's foreign land shattered. As the destruction spread out, anyone who stood at a spot where they could see the entire Western Ring Nebula was able to see clearly that half of the gigantic hand had already disappeared while it continued shattering and disappearing even more. As a large portion of the palm vanished, the galaxy that had been enveloped by the palm showed up once again. The planets that had been hidden away revealed themselves once more, and in the span of a few breaths, the destruction of the palm had reached the area near to the region where the forces of power from true sacred Yin world were stationed. Only a small part remained of the previously boundless hand. However, its destruction had not ended. 3 breaths later, the palm that had stretched into the Western Ring Nebula was completely reduced to ashes, and the destruction of the palm finally extended into the area of the palm covering the region where the forces of power from true sacred Yin world were stationed. Booming sounds spread out. The galaxy trembled. The destruction from the palm finally extended to the main camp, which was located in a vortex. Once the entire palm was destroyed, the 10 wills still didn't seem to be done. Just as they were about to continue destroying the vortex formed by countless planets, 3 divine thoughts that were on equal grounds with the ancient will that had gone after Su Ming's life spread out with a bang from that vortex. Enough! Leave this place. Neither you nor we from the 4 great true worlds have disturbed each other. Do not think that we really cannot destroy you. You have not recovered, broken entity. If we summon our sublime paragon from the 4 great true worlds, you will be destroyed. These 3 divine thoughts echoed in space at the same time, shaking the area beyond the vortex. Only after some time did the sounds gradually calm down. In the depths of the vortex in the main camp was a planet filled with black earth. Within it was a never-ending mountain range. That mountain range looked normal, but if anyone took a closer look, they would discover that it was in the shape of a human. T was a human lying on the ground. At that moment, that person's eyes were slowly falling shut. As booming sounds rang through the world, he closed his eyes completely, and at that instant, his right hand shattered. To control fate, lives, and death means to have everything in our grasp. Yet, how are we supposed to seize control of a being that is beyond the boundaries of fate? A murmur echoed in the planet. In the realm of controlling fate, lives, and death, I have only managed to reach the realm where I can control. I do not know whether I will have the chance of stepping into the realm of the rise and fall of fate, much less the realm of life, which is the reincarnation of life, and the realm of death, which is the death of the universe. Master of fate, lives, and death, rise and fall of fate, reincarnation of life, and death of the universe. These are the four great realms. There is no end to the path of cultivation. Each word, each flower, each leaf, and each world. Each of these words are gems, and each of these words will last for eternity. There is also the sublime after the four great realms, as well as Avacania. Is there a realm after Avacania? There should be, because there is no end to the path of cultivation. A sigh traveled through the entire planet. Within the world of the 100,000 stone monuments in Western Ring Nebula's foreign lands, all the cultivators opened their eyes and woke up. During the moment just now, they had all fallen asleep. They woke up confused, not knowing what had happened. In the space where they could not see, the 10 Ikang souls were growling and sending out their thoughts at that moment. Purple, all of this is because you provoked them to come here. Purple, you first killed our tributes, then lured blues primarily chosen to offend you. Just what are you doing? 1. Avacania, the Sanskrit for not to be spoken. The English form was a little too underwhelming. Chapter 852. I need stimulation. Purple, if it wasn't because your soul weren't still that of Ikang, I would suspect that you were possessed by a tribute. It doesn't matter whether you were possessed or not, Purple, your soul is still that of Ikang. If you aren't possessed, then fine, but even if you are, and you're no longer the previous Purple we know, it doesn't matter to us. You just need to keep the promise made between the 10 Ikang souls. Before we are fully recovered and have fused together to decide who will be the one who will dominate over the rest, do not go and provoke other masters of fate, lives, and death outside, and do not bring trouble to us. What if someone comes to this place to provoke me? Su Ming's divine thought immediately rang in space. We are Ikang. If they provoke you, then it means that they have provoked us. If they insult you, then it means that they have insulted us. If someone comes here, we will fight back with our full strength. All right. After listening to the divine thoughts of the 9 souls, Su Ming fell silent for a moment, then agreed to this matter. In truth, he had long since noticed that the 9 souls had become suspicious of him. However, his soul belonged to Ikang. Because of that, even if they knew that he had possessed the purple Ikang, they were still fine with it. This was the Abyss Builder's inborn talent, a power that gave Su Ming a feeling that it was growing more mysterious with every new thing he learned about it. He also had a sense that Abyss Builders were an existence that even surpassed Ikang. Ikang is a form of life that forms its soul from a sublime paragon's soul and devours divine essence to be born, and I possessed Ikang to be strong. Su Ming pulled back his divine thought and opened his eyes while remaining seated in the 100,000 purple galaxies. The power of a master of fate, lives, and death certainly shocked me. Su Ming looked at the purple hue in the galaxy, and determination appeared in his eyes. The rise and fall of fate, and the lives of all manner of living are in one hand. Before I possessed Ikang, I didn't know whether I would ever be able to understand this realm, but with this Ikang clone, I will be able to head down this legendary path. Su Ming slowly closed his eyes, covering the determination in them, but the act of shutting his eyes did not manage to hide the obsession in his heart. When I fuse with the other 9 Ikang souls, I will be able to surpass this realm. Su Ming did not say these words. He only quietly thought them at the instant he closed his eyes. When Su Ming's Ikang clone closed his eyes, His other clone that practiced the art of swallowing hollow shadows whole opened his eyes in the purple galaxy. He was sitting cross-legged in space. When he opened his eyes, no determination or obsession could be seen. There was only a profound look in his eyes that made them seem like bottomless pits. If anyone took a closer look into them, they would be able to vaguely see overlapping shadows of runic symbols in the right eye, while a palm was swiftly forming in his left eye. That palm was a mere illusion, but after Su Ming had survived under the hands of a master of fate, lives, and death, he had obtained an epiphany, and this palm was the result of that epiphany. The palm was changing its motions endlessly as Su Ming continued trying to understand his epiphany. After a long while, he lifted his right hand and looked at his palm, as well as the palm lines on it. After a moment, he swung his right hand, and a green feather in it. This was the one and only feather he had gained after fusing all the green fledgling feathers he took from Wu Lizi's brows. There was no blood on it, but at the instant the feather appeared, the image of a green peacock manifested in space, as if Su Ming was not holding onto a feather, but a peacock. Su Ming looked at the feather, then lifted his left hand to strike the storage bag. The sleeping bag immediately turned into a ray of dark light that appeared in front of him. The dark creature had its eyes closed and still did not show any signs of waking up, but at the instant it appeared, the dark light on it shone even more intensely. At the same time, the green peacock in Su Ming's right hand started screeching, as if it had run into a great enemy. In Su Ming's senses, these two creatures were clearly from the same source, but their current actions caused his eyes to sparkle. He had formed a guess in his heart previously, and right then, he became somewhat certain of his guess. The dark light from the bald crane burst forth. As it shone furiously, it turned into a black crane. That crane did not have its eyes shut, but they were unfocused. As it let out a piercing screech, it charged towards the green peacock. The peacock also let out a screech before charging forward. The two birds immediately crashed into each other before Su Ming. There were no sound of collision. In silence, they looked as if they had begun merging with each other. It might seem like a quiet and calm process, but Su Ming could feel that this fusion was akin to an act of devouring. It would be either the bald crane devouring the green peacock, or the peacock devouring the bald crane. However, since Su Ming was around, he would definitely not allow the green peacock to succeed. He let out a cold harumph and lifted his right hand to point swiftly at the green peacock's body as the two of them continued devouring each other. At the instant he pointed towards it, the green peacock let out a shrill screech of pain. Its body collapsed and turned into bits of glittering green light that were instantly absorbed by the bald crane. This process lasted for about 2 hours, and after that, the bald crane's body trembled. Its shut eyes showed signs of opening, but it seemed that the amount of power gathered was not enough, since it could not fully open its eyes. There probably was still a little bit of power left required for it to fully open its eyes, but if it did not have the power to open them, then it would mean that it would not be able to wake up. I need STI. As the bald crane struggled, it said these 3 syllables with a great exertion of strength. Its eyelids, which had moved apart to form a small crack, seemed to have lost all strength, and looked as if they were about to fall shut once again, causing the signs of it waking up to also disappear. Su Ming's expression remained the same as usual. He looked at the bald crane and said flatly, "Stop pretending, the green peacock was enough for you to wake up. I don't have crystals anymore, so I can't give you the stimulation you need." He said that, but the bald crane looked as if it hadn't heard it. As its body trembled, an expression of struggle appeared on it, as if it was gathering all its strength to not fall asleep again, but it could not do so. Its eyes fell shut at that moment, and a feeling that it had fallen into deep slumber spread out from its body. Su Ming's gaze became focused. The bald crane did not seem to be pretending, and Su Ming could not accept it if the bald crane could not wake up due to crystals. He had risked danger to enter the region where the forces of power from true sacred Yin world were stationed and had only been able to obtain the green feathers after barely escaping death when a master of fate, lives, and death chased after his life. When he saw that the bald crane was about to wake up but was going to fall asleep again, he lifted his right hand and pressed down on his storage bag without any hesitation. Immediately, the hundreds of spirit stones remaining in his storage bag were all brought out. The quality of these spirit stones were incredibly good, and they were the last of Su Ming's savings. After all, with the bald crane around, it was incredibly difficult for Su Ming to even keep the crystals he had by his side. It could be said that all his money was in his hands at that moment. However, to give the bald crane the stimulation it needed, Su Ming had to bring out these spirit stones. Almost at the instant these sparkling spirit stones were brought out from the storage bag, the bald crane looked as if it had sniffed their scent, even though crystals had no scent. However, it was clear that the bald crane could somehow sniff them. Its nose twitched slightly, and it looked as if new strength had immediately appeared within it. As it trembled, it struggled to open its shut eyes, as if it wanted to look at the crystals it was besotted with. The strength of that newborn power seemed to provide support for the bald crane wake up from its coma. When it opened its eyes with great difficulty, it cast a glance at those crystals with sparkling eyes, but when it saw that there were only hundreds of them, it instantly lost all its strength and looked as if it was about to enter into deep sleep once more. The stimulation is not enough. I need more stimulation. The bald crane continued speaking haltingly and looked as if it was incredibly weakened, but Su Ming could clearly see the spark in its eyes. That was clearly the appearance of someone who was highly alert and full of vigor. How much stimulation do you still need? Su Ming snorted coldly in his heart, but his words were spoken in a relaxed manner. I need 1,000, no, 10,000, 100,000. The bald crane struggled to not let its eyes fall shut, and it looked even more weakened. Is 100,000 enough? Do you want more? Su Ming asked softly. The bald crane was momentarily stunned, but soon, it looked as if strength had returned to its body, as if Su Ming's words were as effective as all forms of medicinal cause. Then, give me 1 million. Go on ahead and continue sleeping. Su Ming stood up and swung his right arm in the air before him. The hundreds of crystals immediately vanished, placed back into the storage bag. Once he did so, he turned around, intending to leave. A shrill screech of pain tumbled out of the bald crane's beak at the instant Su Ming turned around. It seized its chest with its wings and narrowed its eyes into mere slits, looking as if it was out of sorts. You, how cruel. I am going to fall asleep. Farewell, Su Ming, I'm going to sleep. Su Ming walked into the distance. I'm really going to sleep, the bald crane quickly shouted. Su Ming moved even farther away. I'm really going to sleep, the bald crane screamed wretchedly and closed its eyes completely. Its body fell to the side and began to float in the galaxy, unmoving, looking exactly how it did when the bald crane had been in deep sleep. Su Ming's figure could almost not be seen. Well, damn you. The bald crane opened one eye and glared at Su Ming's already indistinct figure as he continued walking into the distance. I used my life to help you possess that Yikang, and you're not saving me even if I'm about to die. Why you? You're going overboard. It's just a few crystals, just external objects, just, The bald crane was mumbling furiously under its breath when it suddenly saw ripples appearing around Su Ming, who was already in the distance. When it saw that he was about to leave the galaxy, it abruptly let out a scream and instantly opened its eyes. At that moment, there were no signs of weakness on it, and it clearly had a look as if it had been infused with a great boost of energy. Hey, I'm all right now. That's strange. Why did I suddenly become better? I, Grandpa Crane, have recovered. I am me again. As it shouted loudly, it swiftly flapped its wings and flew toward Su Ming before crashing head first into those ripples. As Su Ming disappeared, it also vanished. Its smug laughter alone continued echoing in the galaxy. It fell into the ears of Su Ming's Yikang clone in the distant cosmos. The Yikang clone did not open his eyes, but a hint of a happy smile could be seen at the corners of his lips. Hey, Su Ming, where are you taking me? Let me tell you, I'm not going to a place without crystals. Black Ink Planet. Not only does that place have crystals, it also has a part of your physical body there. You can choose not to go. I'm going. There are crystals and my physical body there. Darn it all, I'm definitely going. Say, you're too slow. Just watch me, I'm fast. Chapter 853. Return to Crimson Flame Planet. The galaxy had no end. Its boundaries could not be seen, and it only had that monotonous color scheme filling the entire area. If anyone looked at it for a short period of time, they they would think that it was slightly beautiful, but if they looked at it for a prolonged period of time, they would not be able to help but feel lost, as if they did not know where they were. Their insignificance of their own self compared to the vast galaxy would usually deliver a powerful impact on a person. At that moment, there was a long arc charging through Western Ring Nebula. That long arc could almost not be seen clearly, because its color was similar to that of the galaxy. They were both black. There was a dark light within that arc, and it was a black crane. The smug expression on its face and the nasty look in its eyes belonged solely to the bald crane. No other crane possessed this look in the whole universe. Within the dark light was also a red coffin. There were runic symbols on it that formed bumps, giving the coffin a rough surface. They exuded a mighty pressure. Su Ming sat cross-legged on the coffin, meditating with his eyes closed. The Duke of Crimson Flame was by his side like an old servant. He was looking around vigilantly, no longer indifferent towards everything like before. This was the 16th day since they left Western Ring Nebula's foreign land. Perhaps it was due to the appearance of a master of fate, lives, and death as well as his subsequent fight against Su Ming, but during those 16 days, ripples had appeared non-stop in Western Ring Nebula, which was why all the cultivators in that galaxy had been terrified and did not dare to move out of their planets. Because of this, everywhere Su Ming had passed during these 16 days had been very quiet. He liked this type of silence. Western Ring Nebula was rather far from Black Ink Planet. Unless his Ekang clone ventured out, he would be unable to get there within a short period of time with his own speed. However, once the bald crane woke up and used the divinity incarceration rune which had been reactivated, their speed became much faster. According to Su Ming's estimations, he would need about 6 years before he could see Black Ink Planet. However, before he left for Black Ink Planet, he still had one more thing to do. Once he settled this, he would no longer have many burdens left in Western Ring Nebula. 3 more days passed. On the 19th day since Su Ming had left Western Ring Nebula's foreign land, he opened his eyes slowly while seated on the coffin. At the instant he did so, a planet appeared before him. That planet was dark red, like the color of a ball of flame that was about to die. Crimson Flame Planet. Su Ming said softly. Crimson Flame Planet, so we've returned to this place. The Duke of Crimson Flame had a rather sentimental expression on his face. In the blink of an eye, 1,000 years had passed. When he thought back on the things that had happened, a slightly dazed expression appeared on his face. The bald crane gradually shrank. At the instant the crimson coffin closed in on Crimson Flame Planet, it returned to its normal size and landed in front of Su Ming before sticking its head outward. Boom! The red coffin descended straight into Crimson Flame Planet. At the instant it touched the highest layer of wind in the planet, a sea of flame that was born due to the friction spread out in an arc in front of the coffin. A strong gust of hot wind crashed into Su Ming's face. That wind was strong enough to crush all cultivators in Heaven Cultivation Realm. In fact, a normal cultivator in the initial stage of World Plane Realm would need to use enchanted treasures for some extra protection. They could not use their physical bodies alone to touch it. However, Su Ming remained calm. The hot wind blew against his body and lifted his hair, but did not manage to move him even in the slightest. He watched quietly as the ground gradually grew bigger in front of him, watched as the mountain ranges, ravines, plains, and volcanoes grew larger before his eyes. He continued watching until a booming sound echoed in the air. The coffin on which Su Ming sat shot through the highest layer of wind in the place, and the hot air immediately became weaker, though it still existed. However, it was no longer able to harm cultivators. It would only cause them to feel uncomfortable. As he breathed in the familiar hot air and looked at the familiar ground, Su Ming could not help but remember his past self from 1,000 years ago, when he had just appeared in Crimson Flame Planet. He sighed softly. As his body remained in midair, ripples spread out from him, and he disappeared along with the coffin. When he reappeared, Su Ming stood on a dried-up piece of land. It was empty all around him, without a single person to be seen. It was clear that the place where he was located was a rather remote area. He looked at the ground. This place was the spot where he had lain when he was shifted to this place from Yin Death region. It was also in this place that he met Yu Hongbang. He remained silent for a moment. Just as he was about to leave, Su Ming saw the bald crane digging by the side. He remembered that this spot was the place where it had turned into a stone in the past. As he watched, He saw that once the bald crane dug out a small pit in that spot, it brought out 3 crystals. Heh, I knew they would still be here. I knew it, I'm a smart crane. I hid these 3 crystals here in the past just to be on the safe side. Since we're now passing by this place, I might as well take them away. Let me think whether I should take away the crystals I hid away in the other places as well. That smug expression, that act of immediately taking away the crystals with excitement, and especially those murmurs made Su Ming's understanding towards the bald crane's love for money to become even greater. He then stopped paying any attention to the bald crane and cast a look at the Duke of Crimson Flame. When he saw the nostalgic look on his face as he looked at the ground, Su Ming knew what the Duke of Crimson Flame was thinking of, and he sent a thought to the old man. The Duke of Crimson Flame lifted his head and looked at Su Ming before he wrapped his fist in his palm and bowed to him. Then, he turned around and disappeared to head to the place that had sealed him in the past. After the Duke of Crimson Flame left, Su Ming took a step forward and left as well, leaving the bald crane alone in that place as it was still thinking about whether it should take away all of its crystals. When Su Ming reappeared, he was standing before a small hill. He looked at it. There was a cave abode in there, and beyond it were an endless amount of densely packed blue stones. At first glance, there was no end to them. However, this place was already covered in dust. It had been a long time since anyone came to this place. The cave abode had also been deserted. Someone had destroyed the cave from within. It might still look like a hill, but in truth, this place was already ridden with wounds. Or else someone would have definitely occupied this place after it was abandoned for so many years. This cave abode had belonged to Qi Beishan in the past, and those blue stones were items that Su Ming had asked Yu Hongbang to find for him 1,000 years ago. So many blue stones. Hundreds of years must have been used to gather this amount. I wonder how is Yu Hongbang now, and is the Crimson Python Phoenix still around? Su Ming shook his head. As he spread his divine sense outwards, he covered the entire Crimson Flame planet. After some time, Su Ming found that he could not find any traces of the Crimson Python Phoenixes. They had clearly left this place. However, Su Ming did find Yu Hongbang. To the northeast was a continuous stretch of mountains, one of which towered all the others. That mountain was crimson, and was clearly not any ordinary mountain. Instead, it was a volcano whose magma had already cooled. There was a karst cave within the frozen magma at the foot of the volcano, but it was filled with putrid water. The water was black, and there were even bubbles appearing in it, as if it was boiling. In that puddle of water was a man, submerged up to his chest. His arms were pierced through by chains, and those chains were connected to the walls on both sides of the cave. Waves of sealing power constantly seeped into the man's body through the chains. As they suppressed his power, they also delivered excruciating torment upon him. The man's hair was a mess and his body was thin. He looked disheveled and incredibly pathetic. His eyes were closed, and his face was covered in rotting wounds. There were maggots squirming about in them, so anyone who saw him would not be able to resist vomiting on the side. That man did not know how many years it had been since he was submerged in this place. In fact, most of his body in the puddle of water had already decayed. However, his life force hadn't yet dispersed. There was still a hint of it left. Clearly, this was done intentionally by someone because they did not want him to die. The man did not move. If it was not because there was still a hint of life within him, it would be incredibly easy to think that he was a corpse. Occasionally, waves of power would spread out from him. These waves did not belong to those in Heaven Cultivation Realm, but were waves of power in World Plane Realm. He was a Lord of World Plane. He might only be in the initial stage of World Plane Realm, but there was no mistaking this presence. Footsteps arrived from the area outside. After a moment, the light from an oil lamp approached him. It was a young man dressed in black. Once he placed the oil lamp by the side, he sat down cross-legged beyond the puddle of water and looked at the man who was sealed. "Have you thought this through?" The hanging man did not move, and neither did he say anything. He merely kept his eyes closed and his head lowered. That person has already disappeared for 1,000 years and hasn't showed up from Western Ring Nebula's foreign land. He is already dead, so why are you still protecting a dead man's secret? As long as you say it, my master will immediately let you go. In fact, With your level of cultivation, you will immediately become one of the 3 masters of Crimson Flame Planet, an existence that can be on equal ground with Senior Mylan. The man still did not move, as if he was dead. Even if he isn't dead, so what? He's trapped in Western Ring Nebula's foreign land, and it's impossible for him to venture out. Even if he does, he has the forces of power from the 4 great true worlds going after his life. He'll be too busy fending for himself, so why are you still protecting his secret? Tell me why Mo Su gathered the blue stones in the past. Tell me how he absorbed the power within the blue stones and made his physical body so strong. Tell me and you'll be free. If you don't tell me, you'll continue being sealed in this place and live while enduring a fate worse than death. The young man's face twisted into a ferocious expression as he shouted at the man. The man's head moved slightly, and he slowly lifted his head, revealing a face that was ridden with scars. He opened his eyes and stared fixedly at the young man with his dull eyes. Your master has already searched through my soul. If he didn't manage to find an answer like that, I have nothing to say to him either. There was a deep-seated hatred laced in that voice, and his words tumbled out of his mouth as if he was gnashing his teeth while speaking. The atmosphere between them instantly became gloomy. HMPH, that's because you have a method to protect your memories. If it wasn't because you knew Mo Su's secret, how could you have become a Lord of World Plane from a mere cultivator in Heaven Cultivation Realm within such a short period of time? The young man's face remained ferocious as he stared at Yu Hongbang. After a long while, he swung his arm, turned around, and left with the oil lamp. His expression was dark. In his heart, he remembered that his master had assigned him to this place to keep watch over the prisoner. Master's birthday was near, and he originally wanted to obtain an answer from Yu Hongbang as a present, but the man continued to refuse saying anything, and he decided that once he celebrated his master's birthday, he would think of some other ways to torture Yu Hongbang. Yu Hongbang watched the young man leave and gradually closed his eyes. He did not know of Su Ming's secret, but the young man refused to believe in this sort of thing, because Yu Hongbang had indeed become a lord of a world plane within a short period of time, but that was his own secret. If he told it to the young man, he would die. If that was the case, it would be better if he did not say anything, then perhaps he would have a chance of survival. Chapter 854. Yu Hongbang's lead. Yu Hongbang sighed and closed his eyes again. He knew that the torture he would have to suffer would only increase, but he was confident that the other would not let him die, because when he died, there would truly be no secrets left in him. However, besides doing this, he could really not think of any other way. If he said it, he would die, and if he did not, he could survive, but the pain of living would make him feel as if his will was about to disperse. At the instant he closed his eyes, an indifferent voice suddenly spoke airily in the cast cave. Just what sort of secret do you have? Yu Hongbang instinctively remained silent and ignored that voice. He thought that the youth had come once again, but suddenly, his body trembled, because that voice did not belong to the young man, but to a person that he knew a long time ago. At the instant Yu Hongbang shuddered, the voice spoke once again. It's been many years since we last met, and you've become a lord of a world plane. Congratulations are in order. Yu Hongbang's body trembled, and he opened his eyes to see a young man in white standing before him. That young man had grey hair and a handsome face, but the ancient air about him could not be hidden. That young man was looking at him calmly at that moment. My liege. Yu Hongbang trembled even more furiously. He could almost not believe what he saw, but the person's face and expression were the exact same as those from long ago. Because of it, he became even more certain that this was not a hallucination, but he remembered clearly that Mo Su had been forced into Western Ring Nebula's foreign land 1,000 years ago, and only a handful of people could survive that place during the endless passage of time. This is payment for what you did for me in the past, Su Ming said flatly, and he lifted his right hand to swing it at Yu Hongbang. Immediately, the chains on his arms shattered inch by inch with loud cracking sounds. Before they fell into the puddle of water, they turned into ashes. In fact, even the puddle of water in which Yu Hongbang had been submerged dried up and revealed his body, which no longer looked like that of a human. Su Ming cast a glance at Yu Hongbang's wretched body, and though his expression remained as calm as ever, he let out a cold harumph in his heart. Yu Hongbang was an intelligent person, and he was skilled at seizing the right opportunity. He knew when to take action, and when not to. This sort of person would usually have a lot of selfish motives. When he acknowledged Su Ming as his lord in the past, he did so to obtain Su Ming's protection. He had even spared no pains and killed most of his companions without leaving any trace to prevent anyone else from discovering the secret that he was a first-generation criminal in this place. Because of that, he became the only person who knew about Su Ming, and he also preserved a path of escape for himself after he acknowledged Su Ming as his lord. In fact, to obtain Su Ming's trust, he had given Su Ming the enchanted vessel he used to protect his life to show his firm loyalty. This sort of vicious and ambitious person was usually disliked by others, but that was mostly by those who could not stop such them. Jealousy would rise within them, and they would not want this sort of person to exist beside them. They would constantly think that such a person was a lurking threat. However, in Su Ming's eyes, this person had been very obedient while following him, and even if he left, from the number of blue stones, he could tell that this person had continued obeying his orders for hundreds of years. It was also clear that he had stopped only because he was imprisoned in this place. That was why it did not matter to Su Ming how this person was. It did not matter to him whether he was ambitious or spiteful. He was obedient, and that was enough, but this obedient person had been tortured to this state. Su Ming might not pity or have compassion for the treatment he received these hundreds of years, but he was a person who protected those close to him. "I will not allow anyone to harm those who are mine as they please," Su Ming said flatly, and he swung his right hand at Yu Hongbang once again. With it, Yu Hongbang, who had fallen to the side, immediately felt a wave of life force surge into his body. Flesh and blood instantly grew on him, and in the blink of an eye, he discovered to his shock that his body had recovered instantaneously. In fact, his cultivation base had become even more refined and profound. A presence which belonged to the initial stage of World Plane Realm erupted with a bang from within him. Yu Hongbang lowered his head to look at his own body. He clenched his fists, and a feeling that he had control over great power rose madly in his heart. This sort of strength was something that he had never possessed. The refreshing and relaxing feeling of having life force fill his entire body formed a stark contrast to the torment he had suffered for hundreds of years, causing him to be barely able to constrain the instinct to lift his head and roar. He looked at Su Ming excitedly, but the emotion in the depths of his heart was completely different from the expression on his face. Su Ming had become so powerful that Yu Hongbang was terrified of him. With just a swing of his arm, Su Ming had healed him, and killing was a much easier act compared to healing someone. From this alone, it was clear that Su Ming only needed to swing his arm to kill him. "Thank you for saving me, my liege." Without any hesitation, Yu Hongbang immediately knelt down and worshipped Su Ming. The excited expression was put on his face for Su Ming to see, and his trembling body was his respect, which he could not suppress. "I heard that someone intends to hold a feast to celebrate his birthday. Come with me to take a look," Su Ming said calmly, then turned around to walk to the entrance of the cave. Yu Hongbang quickly followed behind him, his heart racing in his chest. He had understood what Su Ming meant, and a powerful desire filled his heart. He had suffered for hundreds of years, and now, he was finally going to make the other pay. "Jiao Guangyu, I will make it so that you won't be celebrating your birthday." Mountain ranges rose and fell. Not far away from the mountain where Yu Hongbang was sealed was another one. At that moment, there were many voices talking at once at that place. Most of the cultivators in Crimson Flame Planet had arrived and were waiting to present their gifts during the birthday celebration 3 days later. This was the birthday feast of the strongest person in Crimson Flame Planet at that moment. That person had suddenly come to Crimson Flame Planet 1,000 years ago. With the power of a cultivator at the peak of the initial stage of World Plane Realm, he overpowered My Lan with brute strength and sealed Yu Hongbang, who had just become a lord of a world plane. With a single move, he became the strongest in the planet, occupying the land and building his sect there. From then on, this place practically became the sacred land in Crimson Flame Planet. At that moment, Su Ming was strolling confidently up the stairs up the mountain where the sect was located, heading straight to the top. He looked at the cloudy sky and the mountain range in the distance with his usual calm expression. Yu Hongbang was behind Su Ming with an incredibly respectful face as he followed with his head bowed. The two of them were not walking quickly. On their way up, they saw quite a number of cultivators sitting around the area meditating. These cultivators were located in various parts of the mountain range and were waiting for the birthday feast 3 days later. As Su Ming and Yu Hongbang walked over, several cultivators who were sitting cross-legged were speaking to each other in low murmurs, but when one of them cast their gaze casually to the side, he was suddenly taken aback when he saw Yu Hongbang behind Su Ming. Only when Su Ming and Yu Hongbang were already in the distance did he let out a cry of surprise. Yu Hongbang. That person just now was Yu Hongbang. What? Yu Hongbang? Wasn't he imprisoned and sealed by Sir Zhao Guangyu hundreds of years ago? As that person spoke, the expressions of the cultivators by his side immediately changed. When they looked over, they could only see Su Ming and Yu Hongbang's backs. Gradually, more people noticed Yu Hongbang walking to the top of the mountain. After all, this person was a local of Crimson Flame Planet, so it was difficult for them to forget him in just a few hundred years. Slowly, a commotion rose up, and as it spread among the people, more learned of what was happening. It's indeed Yu Hongbang, but who is that person in front of him? Judging by how Yu Hongbang is behaving, the person in front of him deserves extreme respect. That person, why is he somewhat familiar? I find him somewhat familiar as well, but I can't remember where I've seen him before. But if Yu Hongbang is so respectful towards him, then this person. Ah, I remember now. Mo Su. Mo Su. In an instant, when someone mentioned Mo Su's name, a loud buzz went through the mountain range as everyone began speaking. The shock that came straight from the depths of their bodies and souls caused all the people to think of far too many things. They remembered the scenes from 1,000 years ago, as well as the commotion that was brought upon the entire Western Ring Nebula due to this. Something big is about to happen. Sir Mo Su is Yu Hongbang's liege, and Sir Zhao Guangyu imprisoned Yu Hongbang for hundreds of years. Sir Mo Su has returned now, and they will definitely have a dispute over this. I didn't expect that Sir Mo Su would actually manage to walk out of Western Ring Nebula's foreign land. This will definitely shock the forces of power from the 4 great true worlds keeping a lookout over this place. It'll definitely cause a new disaster in sinful barren lands. Long arcs swiftly rose into the air and charged towards the direction where Su Ming and Yu Hongbang were at the top of the mountain, but they did not dare to come too close to them. They still remembered how Mo Su from 1,000 years ago had killed countless people. It was said that wherever he went, he would cause planets to collapse, and none of the cultivators in those planets survived. At that moment, at the top of the sect built in the mountain was a hall on a piece of rock. Crimson Flame Planet's strongest person, Zhao Guangyu, was sitting on a big chair. He was dressed in a long robe with dashes of blue and white on it, and he appeared to be a middle-aged man, but his face was filled with pitted scars, making him look rather ugly. He was looking at the 8 young men in front of him. These 8 people were the disciples he took under his wing in Crimson Flame Planet. All of them were incredibly handsome. As he looked at them, a strange light appeared in the depths of Zhao Guangyu's eyes. Master, more than 3,000 people came to send you gifts. There are still more coming as well. After all, this is a major event that causes a stir in the entire Crimson Flame Planet. Master, I hope to wish you in advance that you will have endless years and you will live throughout the ages. With his disciples' wishes upon him, Zhao Guangyu laughed loudly and swept his gaze across them before fixing his eyes on the last person among the 8. Has Yu Hongbang spoken? Master, that person still hasn't said anything. It's my fault for being so worthless. The young man whom Zhao Guangyu was looking at lowered his head. Naturally, he was the young man who had appeared before Yu Hongbang earlier. At the instant he said those words, uproars and the sound of something breaking suddenly came from outside the hall. The noise that rose and fell was incredibly strong. Zhao Guangyu frowned. What is going? Before Zhao Guangyu could finish speaking, a loud bang rang out beyond the hall. As the sound shook the ground, a sinister voice rushed into the hall. Zhao Guangyu, I'll never forget how you treated me during those hundreds of years. We will settle our matter later. Today, my liege has arrived. Now come out and pay your respects to him. This was Yu Hongbang's voice. In an instant, the expressions of the 8 young men in the hall changed at the same time, while Zhao Guangyu let out a cold harumph. Your liege? I didn't even know that you had a liege. As Zhao Guangyu took a step forward, he turned into a long arc and looked as if he was just about to fly out of the hall, but during that instant, his expression suddenly changed drastically, because he had just remembered the liege Yu Hongbang spoke about. Based on what he knew, Yu Hongbang had only one liege, and he was Mo Su, the man for whom the four great true worlds had offered a reward, and the man Zhao Guangyu had once joined a group to hunt down. However, he had been scared away by the amount of blood the other had spilled. Chapter 855. Temperamental Zhao Guangyu remembered clearly that because he had been late to the fight 1,000 years ago in Heavenly Treasure Planet, he had been outside the Ocean of Wind as he witnessed the crazed slaughter. Those in Heaven Cultivation Realm all died, and plenty of other cultivators didn't leave alive either. Aside from that one cultivator in the middle stage of World Plane Realm, it was as if every other person had to die before Mo Su. The sight of a hunter turning into a hunted had shocked Zhao Guangyu. If he had not reacted to the situation quickly enough and decisively chosen to immediately leave Heavenly Treasure Planet, he would have probably been one of those who had died as well. Heavenly Treasure Planet had been torn to pieces and reduced to ashes, but under that terrifying strike, Mo Su had once again appeared in Western Ring Nebula, and the shock it brought to Zhao Guangyu was incredibly great. He was one of the very few people who had managed to survive after witnessing Su Ming's attack. That was why after the other was forced into Western Ring Nebula's foreign lands, he chose to come to Crimson Flame Planet. He saw the might of Su Ming's physical body and wanted to search for the reason behind it. He had heard about Su Ming gathering blue stones in Crimson Flame Planet to absorb them, and he tried to do it as well, but failed. However, he was the first powerful warrior to arrive in Crimson Flame Planet, and was also the first to imprison Yu Hongbang. From then on, there were quite a few powerful warriors who came to Crimson Flame Planet in search for the reason behind Su Ming's strength, but they were the same as him and did not obtain any answers. As 1,000 years passed, fewer people came, and it was especially so during the last few hundred years. Practically no one came to this place. It was as if Mo Su's name had already been forgotten. Zhao Guangyu did not harbor any hope anymore. The imprisonment of Yu Hongbang had been without much purpose, just because he was a reminder. After all, if Zhao Guangyu had still cared about it, he wouldn't have thrown the task of watching that place to his disciple. In his heart, he saw no point to it anymore. He had already done everything that he could do, but he still did not obtain any answer. In fact, in his mind, Crimson Flame Planet was a good place, and he had already decided to stay here for long, which was why he had built his sect here and taken in disciples. However, he did not expect that he would run into Mo Su here, the man who had terrified him in the past. This was something he never thought about. In his mind, all those who stepped into the foreign lands were dead men, since it was so rare to see anyone walk out alive. In fact, even if they managed to come out, they required at least several thousands or 10,000 years to do so. Even if Mo Su managed to come out, he would definitely be cautious, because the four great true worlds had yet to cancel his bounty. If they could chase him down the first time, then they could do so a second time, and all the times after. Yet now, only 1,000 years had passed. Yet now, this person had appeared in Crimson Flame Planet in such a brazen manner. Almost at the instant he registered what was going on in his head, Zhao Guangyu's expression changed rapidly. His body came to an abrupt halt just as he was about to fly out of the hall, and he turned around to immediately change his direction and retreat. He did not fly out of the entrance. Instead, as he retreated, he shot up and rushed straight towards the roof of the hall with a bang. In the mid of that booming sound, he tore through a hole in the hall and charged out from within. Dim sunlight scattered on the ground. At the moment Zhao Guangyu appeared on the roof, the first thing he saw were the thousands of cultivators standing close to each other far away from the area, and immediately after, he saw Yu Hongbang, who was not only healed, but was also standing with all of his cultivation base restored and refined. Then, he saw a figure that made his heart tremble furiously, and the one thread of hope remaining in his heart wishing that he would be lucky was shredded to pieces. The figure was dressed in white and had grey hair as he stood there allowing the mountain breeze to blow against his robes. His face was handsome, but exuded an ancient air, and he was naturally the person whom Zhao Guangyu found impossible to forget, and who was buried deep in his memories after terrifying him all those years ago, Su Ming. "I see, so it's you." Su Ming placed his hands behind his back as he stood at the top of the mountain. The booming sounds from the roof of the hall echoed in his ears as he looked at the person who had flown out. Su Ming had seen this person before. He was one of the cultivators who had fled from Heavenly Treasure Planet from fright. At the moment he heard Su Ming's words, Zhao Guangyu felt his skin crawl, and he was almost terrified out of his wits, because at the instant he heard Su Ming's voice and looked over, a loud bang rang out in his heart, and his mind went blank. The only thing that remained in his head was Su Ming's eyes. Those were a pair of eyes that shocked him. It was as if they could suck away his soul and make him lose his consciousness. In fact, he could feel that Su Ming could damn him for eternity with just one thought. This was an incredibly distinct feeling, and it was clearer to Zhao Guangyu than anything before. He's not in the initial stage of world plane realm. He's definitely different from 1,000 years ago. He couldn't make my heart tremble with just one gaze back then. Just what sort of serendipity did he obtain in the foreign land? Zhao Guangyu's body trembled, and right after, without even having time to speak, he swayed and coughed up a mouthful of blood. It turned instantly into blood mist, and he chose to flee without even fighting. This was not any ordinary form of escaping either. This was a frenzied escape where he flung all caution to the wind and even injured himself to execute an art that allowed him to instantaneously reach the horizon. Since he was a cultivator at the peak of the initial stage of world plane realm, the thousands of spectators burst into a commotion due to his actions. They had originally expected a great battle. After all, in their eyes, while Su Ming was strong, Zhao Guangyu had been a supreme existence during the hundreds of years that were nearing 1,000 he was in Crimson Flame Planet. That was why in their minds, Zhao Guangyu's strength was not to be questioned. However, the scene unfolding before their eyes immediately overturned their beliefs. Paragon Zhao he's running away. He's definitely thinking about executing a powerful divine ability in the sky. It's impossible for him to immediately run without even attacking. Nonsense. He's clearly running away. Sir Mo Su is so strong that he can make a cultivator in the initial stage of world plane realm choose to not fight but flee by sacrificing his blood. The thousands of cultivators in the area were not the only ones shocked by this. Zhao Guangyu's 8 disciples in the hall also had their mouths hanging open in shock. They stared at Zhao Guangyu turning into a ray of blood-red light that fled madly into the sky from the hole that appeared on the roof in the hall. Their master, who was an incredibly powerful existence in their hearts, was running away pathetically. In fact, he looked as if he did not even dare to say a single word. It caused the shock in the 8 disciples' hearts to change into astonishment and fear, especially that of the young man who had kept an eye on Yu Hongbang. His face had instantly turned pale. When Yu Hongbang saw that Zhao Guangyu was about to disappear, anxiety appeared in his heart, but he did not dare to chase after him rashly. It was not because he was afraid of Zhao Guangyu, but because Su Ming had not said even a single word by his side. He's a clever one, at least, Su Ming remarked flatly. This person had escaped the disaster in Heavenly Treasure Planet with that intelligent mind of his, but he should not have set his eyes on Su Ming. Su Ming did not do much. His left eye only shone once, and immediately, the mark of the palm which he had formed in his left eye through the epiphany he had gained after he survived the attack of a master of fate, lives, and death disappeared. In the next breath, the sky roared, and the dim heavens tumbled about to reveal a sight that caused all those who saw it in the area to cry out together in surprise. Zhao Guangyu's 8 disciples also looked as if they had instantly lost all their strength, and despair appeared on their faces. Even Yu Hongbang's breathing quickened when he saw this scene. As his pupils shrank, his heart filled with shock and disbelief. At that moment, as the clouds tumbled about and ripples were formed in the sky, a huge palm replaced the sky and appeared before everyone's eyes. There was no end to this palm, and it completely replaced the sky, making it seem as if there was a giant standing in the galaxy, right outside Crimson Flame Planet, and he was striking the planet with his palm. The sky rumbled, and the heavens twisted. The gigantic palm was Su Ming's epiphany. At that moment, the epiphany gained form, and the palm descended as if it was falling from the sky. As it pressed down, it looked as if a sea of fire had risen up due to friction, causing the sky to burn. As the palm swiftly descended, a loud bang rang out in the sky. The fleeing Zhao Guangyu's body formed from the blood-red light. His face was distorted in shock. With a piercing scream, his body plunged down as he tried to avoid the palm from seizing him. Su Ming shook his head. The understanding he had was still not enough. The palm only possessed an outline and did not have much power. It was impossible for it to be compared with that of a master of fate, lives, and death, but its appearance could be used to scare others. Kill him. Su Ming averted his gaze from the sky. When he spoke lightly, killing intent shone in Yu Hongbang's eyes. He had been waiting a long time ago for Su Ming's orders. At that moment, he let out a prolonged shout towards the sky and rose up, turning into a long arc that charged towards Zhao Guangyu, who had been shaken by the palm in the sky and was currently retreating. That person is already scared out of his wits. He might be slightly stronger than you, but he won't be able to bring out his full power. I will give you the span of 10 breaths. If he doesn't die by then, you will die with him. I do not need weaklings under my wing. Su Ming's voice was calm, but there was a ruthless tone within it that caused Yu Hongbang's heart to tremble. He did not suspect the truth of that statement at all. Once he witnessed Su Ming's strength, he once again remembered the other impression Su Ming had left in his mind all those years ago. Temperamental. His heart shuddered, and Yu Hongbang clenched his teeth tightly. His eyes immediately turned bloodshot, and with a low growl, he rushed towards Zhao Guangyu. He had to give everything he had in this fight. If he did not manage to kill this person within 10 breaths, then he himself would die with the other. This was not something he could choose, and neither did he have time to dawdle. Even if he would be severely injured, he had to kill Zhao Guangyu. In this bout of madness, besides respect, he also felt terror towards Su Ming from the depths of his heart. This terror would accompany him for the rest of his lives, and it would not leave. Is this how the superior are? There were 4 superiors recorded in Yu family scrolls, and the experiences of the older generations of the family while dealing with them were recorded in the scrolls as well. The first was a forthright person, and the second a somber one. Yu family's progenitor was that somber person. This sort of person was easier to serve, since those who are forthright are easier to get close to. The third was temperamental, and the fourth was also temperamental. The first of the two pretended to be emotionally volatile, and the second was born this way. It didn't matter which sort of temperamental person they were incredibly difficult to serve. Yu Hongbang's heart was filled with anguish, but he did not have time to think much about this at that moment. With red eyes, he closed in on Zhao Guangyu. Su Ming closed his eyes. He did not pay any attention to the battle in the sky. Time passed. Booming sounds echoed in the air, and eventually, during the 10th breath, a shrill scream of pain traveled through the air. When Su Ming opened his eyes, Yu Hongbang returned to him with a head whose face was filled with despair. It looked as if there was fire burning on Yu Hongbang's body, and there were many parts of him that had turned into a bloody mess. When he knelt down on the ground, he coughed up a mouthful of blood. There was a dispirited look on his pale face. It was clear that he had only won after burning his cultivation base, gave it his all, and executed his family's strongest divine ability. At the moment he knelt down, one word echoed in the deepest recesses of his mind: temperamental.